The grueling cruise ship special test may have been the season 1 finale, but the first years at Tokyo Metropolitan Advanced Nurturing High School aren't over yet. The students face another harrowing chapter in the ongoing test. If you haven't watched my video analysis of all the quotes from season 1, you may find the link in the description. "Remember to keep a clear head in difficult times" is a quote that perfectly sets the stage for the events of the first episode of season 2 of Classroom of the Elite. Following their exam on a deserted island, Ayanokoji Kiyotaka and other members of 1D were indulging in a luxurious summer break on a high-end cruise ship. But their relaxation was short-lived, as a new special exam was about to begin. Ayanokoji was called to a meeting with Karuizawa Kei and others to receive their instructions, only to discover that this exam would involve multiple classes, raising the stakes even higher. This scenario is designed to test their strategic thinking and ability to maintain composure under pressure. Ayanokoji embodies Horace's advice through his foresight and calm demeanor. Even as chaos emerges around him and students grapple with the new test's rules, Ayanokoji's understanding of the situation and his obscure role in manipulating outcomes highlight his ability to maintain clarity of thought. This clear-headedness is crucial, particularly in an environment where emotional reactions can jeopardize strategic objectives. As the students are divided into groups named after the planets in the solar system and given the task of identifying a VIP among them, Ayanokoji's ability to keep a clear head shows. But there's also the leadership displayed by Ichinose during the Team Mars meeting that illustrates another facet of keeping a clear head. Her approach to managing team dynamics, encouraging open communication, and fostering a collaborative atmosphere amidst the test's tensions showcases effective leadership in difficult times. This contrasts with the approach of Class A members within the team, whose strategy potentially sows distrust and hampers teamwork. The episode also hints at deeper emotional undercurrents, particularly with Karuizawa Kei, who faces bullying within her team. This subplot underscores the personal difficulties students face, which are often masked by the broader competitive strategies. Karuizawa's emotional response at the episode's end suggests that personal struggles will continue to impact the students' ability to stay clear-headed during tests. The episode sets up a series of potential betrayals and alliances, with the possibility of deception from any member, reflecting the quote's emphasis on the importance of clarity and focus in difficult times. Ayanokoji's role is pivotal, as he manages not only the immediate challenges of the group dynamics, but also the larger strategic implications of the tasks they are given. There are two main human sins from which all the others derive: impatience and indolence. Ayanokoji's behavior in episode 2 encapsulates the balance between the two sins Kafka mentions. Koenji ignores attempts by Hirata to get him involved in the group discussion for their exam, which reinforces his usual self-absorbed personality. While everyone else is strategizing, Koenji submits his answer for the special exam very quickly, seemingly without much thought, and this act frustrates his classmates, especially Horikita. Ayanokoji, however, seems intrigued by Koenji's move, and suggests there might be more to it than meets the eye, saying that one thing that is good about Koenji is that he is decisive. Despite noticing a change in Karuizawa's behavior and the hint of bullying, Ayanokoji chooses not to intervene immediately. This could be seen as indolence, yet it is a calculated decision to avoid rash actions, an avoidance of impatience. His approach to gathering information and observing before acting ensures that his moves are well thought out and not based on incomplete understanding, which is crucial in the complex environment of the special exam. There's also Ayanokoji's curiosity about Karuizawa and his discussion with Horikita that indicate a deeper play at work. His actions suggest that he is gathering information to formulate a plan, adhering more to diligence rather than indolence, while maintaining a prudent patience that keeps his true intentions and capabilities obscured from others. He acknowledges the fact that it may be a little too ambitious for Class D to win in every group, and understands that someone with a lot of connections might have a better chances of pulling it off, and this is why he needs Karuizawa. While Yukimura fumes with impatience, urging Ayanokoji to take action, the protagonist merely whispers, "Not yet," continuing to assess the situation. This quote from Kafka effectively reflects the underlying tension in this episode between acting too quickly or not acting enough, both of which can lead to downfall in the high-stakes environment that the characters navigate. Ayanokoji's manipulation of these two sins demonstrates his mastery over the game being played, aligning closely with the psychological and strategic themes of Classroom of the Elite. Episode 3 picks up with a focus on a critical moment. Ayanokoji observes Karuizawa being bullied while also attempting to subtly control Yukimura and prevent him from getting involved. He concedes that he can't restrain Yukimura much longer, allowing him to intervene and play the hero, but Koji remains aware that he doesn't fully control the situation. Kei hasn't reached her breaking point yet, and she might lash out at whoever tries to help first, which is exactly what happens next, with her yelling at Yukimura and telling him that she does not need the help. By not playing the hero part yet, Ayano is now having all the pieces of the puzzle, actions and reactions, and he decides to set up a scenario where Kei will be bullied once again, but with one small difference. He is now in full control as the observer. His ultimate goal is to reshape her into a loyal ally, leveraging her vulnerability to secure an advantage for himself and, by extension, his class. So he sets up a context in which the psychological and physical outcomes will be too great for Karuizawa to handle. With him staying in the shadows and filming everything, he now has the perfect bargaining chip so that he can trade with Kei. By saving Kei at her lowest, Ayano positions himself as a savior figure, enhancing his influence over her. This tactic is not just about forming alliances, it's about creating dependency, showcasing his profound understanding of human psychology and strategic manipulation. Ayano actions in this episode demonstrate the extremes of human capabilities as he both allows and ends Kei's suffering. Initially, he is an observer, indirectly facilitating her torment to break her down psychologically. This action can be seen as a vice due to its cruelty. However, once he achieves his objective, he steps in to recruit her, offering protection and support, which can be seen as a virtue. This duality aligns with Descartes' view of human nature's capacity for both great good and great evil. These actions reflect the philosophical underpinnings of the episode's title, illustrating how one individual can embody both the highest virtues and the deepest vices, depending on the circumstances and objectives. The episode also goes into the complexities of human nature through other characters like Rika, who succumbs to the darker side of human behavior under peer pressure. This transformation from victim to perpetrator further exemplifies Descartes' idea. Ayano handling of the VIP test, particularly the way he manipulates the outcome and controls information, also reflects his ability to make good judgments. Predicting and manipulating the actions of his classmates, particularly in the scenes involving the phone swaps and the misleading of Ichinose, showcases his intellectual virtues. However, these actions are also tinged with vice, as they involve deceit and manipulation of trust. Episode 3 of Season 2 powerfully encapsulates the dual nature of Ayano and by extension the dual nature of all individuals, as suggested by Descartes' quote. Koji's actions are a blend of vice and virtue, and this episode not only advances the plot, but deepens the psychological exploration of its characters, setting up further moral and ethical dilemmas that they must navigate. As the season continues, the balance between virtue and vice, success and failure, loyalty and betrayal will likely continue to be central themes, challenging both the characters and the audience to reflect on the true nature of greatness and the costs associated with it. The material has to be created is fitting for episode 4, highlighting the ongoing themes of creation and manipulation in the series. This episode centers around the preparations for the upcoming sports festival, where the students of Class D are devising strategies for their participation. The sports festival itself is a significant event where the material, both literal in the form of team strategies and figurative in terms of alliances and loyalties, must be crafted carefully. Now that he has an ally, Ayano uses Karuizawa to counter Horikita's proposal during the class debate on what strategies they should use during the festival. Kei's role, influenced by Koji's manipulation, highlights how individuals can be shaped into key players within these strategies, further underscoring the theme of creating the necessary material, loyalty and trust, through calculated manipulation. Instead of talking the lead in class and debating Horikita, Koji uses Kei to deliver his message, while also throwing Kushida into the mix, ultimately putting all three of them in a debate where he could observe, craft, and further refine the materials of his gathering. Even though Horikita won the vote, Ayano had to physically take a stance by demonstrating that she needs to work on her cooperation and awareness skills when they simulated a three-legged race. He also gave her a reward for the effort to learn a lesson by giving her new information on how he thinks Kushida betrayed their class during the last test, and also recruiting her to his next endeavor. Horikita's acceptance of Koji's advice and her attempt to implement a balanced team strategy, despite opposition, shows her growth as a leader who is beginning to understand the complexities of team management. The revelation of Kushida's actions as a traitor adds another layer to the narrative of creation and manipulation. Ayano plans to utilize her treachery not only aim to neutralize a threat, but also to harness it as a tool in his broader strategy. This again ties back to the quote as Ayano seeks to create a situation where even elements that could be detrimental to Class D's progress are turned into advantages. By fostering dependencies and alliances, Ayano crafts a team that, while seemingly disparate, can function under his subtle guidance to overcome the systemic challenges imposed by the school. Florence Nightingale's reference to material creation can also be metaphorically extended to the development of human resources. Koji's interactions with his classmates aim to maximize their potential and roles in the upcoming event. By assessing their strengths and weaknesses, he is essentially creating a more competent team that can perform effectively during the sports festival. Ayano Koji's handling of the meeting with Kushida and Horikita, although it doesn't immediately expose Kushida, sets the stage for further exploration of her motives and actions, turning the failure of the meeting into a stepping stone for future maneuvers. His attempts to understand and control Kushida's actions, although not fully successful in outing her as a traitor immediately, are steps toward understanding how to manage such threats within the class. This process of trial, error, and incremental adjustment aligns with the idea that each failure brings him closer to understanding how to manipulate and control the dynamics of Class D effectively. The sports festival is a testing ground, a vivid illustration of the quote. Class D's struggles with internal conflict and external sabotage, particularly through Raiwan's tactics, test the class's unity and individual character strengths. Horikita's injuries and the ensuing challenges force her to reconsider her approach. Ken Sudo's apparent withdrawal and her stern conversation with Ayano Koji marks a critical moment where she is prompted to reconsider her approach to reliance and teamwork, marks a significant point in her character development. His failure to control his temper initially leads to a broader understanding of his role in the team, highlighting the necessity of channeling one's strengths in a cooperative manner. Raiwan's plot to frame Horikita and the subsequent blackmail further test her resolve and force her to navigate a path that balances personal integrity with pragmatic decisions, emphasizing the quote's theme that each setback and each failure is a learning experience paving the way to her personal and leadership development. The sports festival serves as a microcosm for the quote's deeper meaning, showcasing how setbacks can lead to greater resolve and strategic shifts. Ayano Koji's role as a catalyst in turning these failures into lessons and strategic advantages reinforces his enigmatic yet central role in guiding his class towards overcoming their disadvantages. The next episode explores how characters face personal and collective adversities, leading them to significant revelations and growth. Ken Sudo's struggle with his self-worth and Horikita's attempt to win his cooperation highlight their individual battles with adversity. Sudo's initial decision to withdraw from the sports festival reflects his internal conflict and feelings of inadequacy, which are direct adversities he must confront. Horikita's persistent efforts to help Sudo see his value represent her growth in understanding and leadership, showing how adversity, in this case the team's potential failure, can lead to a deeper understanding of oneself and others. Ayano Koji's role in this episode, though subtly executed, continues to demonstrate depth understanding of human nature. His confrontations with Kushida are particularly illustrative of the quote. By facing the adversity of dealing with a traitor within his class, Koji navigates through layers of deception to uncover truths not just about Kikyo's actions, but her motivations to get Suzune expelled. This confrontation leads to critical insights that potentially reposition the dynamics within Class 1D and with other classes. Sudo's confrontation with his self-image and past, and Horikita's struggle with her isolation and desire for her brother's recognition highlight how adversity pushes them towards truth and self-realization. Their interactions, which lead to mutual understanding and respect, as both characters are dealing with significant internal struggles, which act as catalysts for their development. Raiwan's continues to create more tricky scenarios for Class D, and these challenges prompt Horikita to engage in deeper strategic thinking, as evidenced by her recording him and use the recording as a blackmail for later. Kushida's true nature and her schemes against Horikita are fully exposed in this episode as well. The hardship faced by Suzune in dealing with Kikyo's betrayal and her subsequent actions to protect herself and potentially outmaneuver Kushida illustrate how crises can catalyze clarity and decisive action. The reveal of Kushida's true motives and history with Horikita is a direct consequence of the adversities faced by the characters. This exposure not only serves Ayano Koji's and Class D's interests, but also ties back to the quote, as it is through these adversities that the true nature of Kushida's character is revealed to the viewers and other characters. The sports festival serves as a backdrop for these personal adversities, providing a physical and competitive space where characters must confront their limitations and weaknesses. The festival's challenges reveal not only physical, but psychological vulnerabilities within Class 1D, forcing them to reevaluate their approaches and alliances. The end result, despite being last in placement, turns out to be a moral and developmental victory for Class 1D, emphasizing that truth and growth often come from facing hardships. Episode 7 starts with a rather spicy interaction, where Sato is asking Ayano Koji out, while Karuizawa observes in the background. The necessity for reflection is paramount in this episode, as characters navigate a landscape where neither blind doubt nor naive belief is sufficient. The new paper shuffle test introduces a scenario that forces the students to reflect deeply on their partnerships and academic strategies. The test structure, requiring pairs to create and answer exam questions, means that students cannot simply believe in their own abilities or doubt others' capabilities. They must strategically assess and reflect on the best ways to collaborate and compete. This mirrors Poincaré's idea, as the students are pushed to engage in critical thinking rather than taking easy routes of absolute trust or skepticism. Learning that Kushida and Horikita went to the same middle school and finding out that Kushida tore her class apart, Koji still takes time to reflect and allows Suzune to lead on her own. Horikita's ongoing evolution as a character is highlighted in her approach to manage internal class conflicts, the future exam, and her complex relationship with Kushida. By choosing to attempt to win Kushida over rather than seeking her expulsion, Horikita demonstrates a reflective approach to dealing with adversaries, acknowledging the nuanced realities of her classmates' loyalties and histories. This reflects a departure from simplistic solutions, engaging with the complexities of her social environment at a deeper level. Our protagonist's behavior in this episode exemplifies the balance between doubt and belief. His previous interaction with Kushida, where he confronts her with evidence of her treachery, shows his refusal to take things at face value, embodying the spirit of the quote by engaging in deep reflection and not just accepting convenient truths. His strategy demands a nuanced understanding of each classmate's motivations, especially as he influences events from behind the scenes. The episode's exploration of Raiwan's discovery of Ayanokoji as a key player adds another layer of intrigue. Raiwan's approach contrasts with Ayanokoji's. Where Ayanokoji reflects and manipulates subtly, Raiwan confronts and coerces openly. This difference in strategy highlights the episode's core message about the dangers of oversimplification in trust and the necessity for strategic reflection in understanding one's true adversaries. During the episode, Ayanokoji's interactions reflect the balancing act between belief and doubt. He continues to manipulate the situation discreetly, fostering scenarios that test the trust and discernment of his classmates. His strategy involves creating doubt and fostering alliances that serve his long-term objectives while keeping his true intentions hidden. This manipulation underscores the theme of the quote, as Ayanokoji exemplifies the necessity of reflection in decision-making, avoiding the extremes of blind trust or complete doubt. Episode 8 reveals the intricate and painful backstories that motivate the characters, particularly Kushida. Ayanokoji's role in this episode is crucial as he balances between academic strategist and manipulator, deeply involved in the planning for the paper shuffle exam while also navigating the treacherous waters of his relationship with her. The revelation of Kushida's past is a poignant moment that aligns perfectly with the quote. Her history of craving attention, the resultant stress, and her catastrophic response to betrayal by her classmates reveal the deep psychological wounds that drive her current manipulative and dangerous behavior. Her actions are a direct response to the emotional scars she carries, making her not just a villain, but a deeply wounded character acting out of past traumas. The high-stakes deal set between Kushida and Horikita, with Ayanokoji's fate also tied to its outcome, is a dramatic pivot that underscores the personal risks each character is willing to take. The deal's terms, serving as a direct confrontation of their past and present grievances, are not just about academic scores, but a battle to heal or vindicate deep emotional wounds. Manabu's involvement as a witness adds another layer, suggesting his complex feelings about his sister's potential expulsion or vindication. Figuring out that Koji was listening to the conversation via Suzune's phone, Horikita added another demand to the bet, basically asking for him to be expelled as well. His involvement in Kushida's deal and his acceptance of her challenge highlight his willingness to risk himself to uncover truths and manipulate outcomes, fitting the theme of deep-seated wounds driving actions. The episode leaves the viewers with a sense of uncertainty. The outcome of the exam and the impact of Kushida's secrets on Class 1D remain unknown. This uncertainty creates a sense of anticipation as the wound inflicted on the class by Kushida's potential betrayal hangs in the balance. The quote from the Analects provides a poignant reflection on the actions and outcomes in Episode 9. This episode centers around strategic plays and the consequences of failing to adapt or revise flawed plans. Kushida attempts to manipulate the outcomes of the paper shuffle exam by making a deal with Raiwan, trading what she believes to be the correct exam papers in exchange for information that would ensure the expulsion of Ayanokoji and Horikita. Our protagonist recognizes the potential pitfalls in their plans and takes steps to correct these ahead of time, ensuring that errors do not persist unaddressed. The birth of the Ayanokoji group represents a new dynamic within Class 1D, signaling a shift from individualism to a more cohesive, community-oriented approach. This change might not directly tie to the episode's thematic quote, but demonstrates the evolution of relationships within the class, which could be seen as a corrective measure against previous isolationist tactics used by many students, including Koji himself. Koji's involvement in the unfolding strategies, particularly his influence over Ryuen and the setup against Kushida, demonstrates his adherence to the episode's thematic quote. Horikita embodies the essence of the quote through her calculated move against Kushida. Predicting Kushida's actions and setting up a countermeasure showcases Horikita's growth as a tactician who learns from past mistakes, hers and others. Her victory in the three-way deal not only resolves her immediate problem with Kushida, but also solidifies her position as a competent leader and strategist within Class 1D. Kushida's strategy, involving collusion with Ryuen to undermine Horikita, backfires spectacularly when she discovers during the exam that Ryuen has deceived her, providing incorrect papers instead. This pivotal moment underlines the quote's theme about the consequences of uncorrected errors, as Kushida's initial mistake of trusting Ryuen without verifying his integrity leads to her downfall. This directly ties to the quote, as her failure to anticipate Horikita's and Ayano Koji's counter-strategies results in her not only failing to correct her initial mistake, betraying her class, but compounding it with more deception. Koji's actions contrast sharply with Kushida's, illustrating a deeper comprehension of the episode's philosophical message. He is seen ensuring that his and his group's preparations are thorough, reflecting his constant vigilance and correction of any potential missteps along the way. The impending clash between Ayano Koji and Ryuen is teased as the next major confrontation. Given Koji's strategic depth and Ryuen's aggressive tactics, this future battle will likely hinge on which character can better learn from past errors and adapt their strategies accordingly. This episode highlights the importance of vigilance and the consequences of oversight, stressing that mistakes must be acknowledged and rectified to avoid further complications. It's a compelling narrative about the impact of choices and the often harsh realities of trust and deception within the competitive environment of the school. The 10th episode opened on a positive note, with Ayano Koji's group basking in Class D's triumph over the paper shuffle exam. In an unprecedented achievement for the class, not a single student failed the assessment. However, their success also attracted adversaries like Class C and its leader Ryuen, as Class D's performance in the paper shuffle exam slightly surpassed Class C's. Driven by this development and others, Ryuen took drastic measures to intimidate the members of Class D. But Ayano Koji wasn't caught off guard. He had anticipated Ryuen would try to unmask whoever was masterminding Class D's rise. Ryuen thinks exposing a strategic leader like Ayano Koji will let him gain dominance, but he's underestimating Ayano Koji's skills at manipulating situations without being detected. The way Ayano Koji calmly dealt with Ryuen's attempts and used Karuizawa to identify his stalker shows just how adept he is at pulling the strings behind the scenes. This episode peeled back more layers about Ayano Koji's shadowy past and true motivations driving everything. We learn about the White Room, where he was basically groomed to be this prize student controlled by his father. His initial quest for autonomy and a life beyond his father's control is revealed to be more of a manipulative illusion. Even the school chairman gets involved to prevent Ayano Koji from withdrawing, showing the complex power dynamics at play here. For now, Ayano Koji's autonomy is protected, but he's in a precarious position with his future moves. In the end, Ayano Koji makes a major strategy shift after realizing Chabashira misled him about threats against him. He decides to abandon his mission to elevate Class D and just focus on his own self-interests again. Realizing his efforts for the class were based on deception leads him back to looking out for number one, perfectly embodying Machiavelli's notion that being deceived can lead you to make self-destructive decisions. Ayano Koji's situation encapsulates the Machiavellian dilemma of pursuing what seems beneficial without realizing the potential downsides. As this story continues, seeing how his decision impacts allies like Horikita and rivals like Ryuen will further explore these rich themes of deception, manipulation, and the harsh truths obscured by everybody's actions and motives in this high-stakes game. A man who cannot command himself always remains a slave sets the perfect tone for this episode, showcasing Ryuen's ruthless obsession with taking down Class D's mysterious leader at any cost. His relentless scheming to expose the mastermind, even resorting to messing with Karuizawa, shows he's totally enslaved by his drive for victory and control over others. Dude has zero chill or self-control when it comes to that obsession. The perfect contrast is Koenji, who stays ice-cold and unfazed when Ryuen tries to get a rise out of him. The way he sizes up Ryuen's game so quickly and refuses to be provoked highlights how he's the master of his own emotions and reactions. He's in total command of himself, which keeps him from being manipulated or controlled. While Ryuen's losing his mind trying to expose the Class D puppet master, we get a glimpse of another master manipulator, Arisu Sakanayagi. The casual way she uses a classmate as a human shield to protect herself shows how enslaved her own followers are to her whims. They have zero self-mastery left. But the character who best embodies the struggle for self-command has to be Karuizawa. Despite her vulnerabilities and the cruel mind games Ryuan plays, she refuses to break and give in to his demands even after Ayanokoji pieces out. After being a victim for so long, the way she stands up to that Dragon Boy's bullying shows a huge evolution in taking command of her own life instead of being enslaved by fear. The whole episode craftily explores that spectrum of self-mastery through its characters. The ones like Koenji and Karuizawa, who maintain composure and control over themselves, manage to resist manipulation, while the Ryuans of the world, enslaved by their own obsessive desires, remain trapped with no self-command. Episode 12 was the dramatic conclusion to the epic clash between Ryuen and Ayanokoji, and it drove home how brute force alone will crumble without strategic thinking and emotional control backing it up. When Koji finally revealed himself as the Class D mastermind and confronted Ryuen directly, you could see his decision was driven by a deep understanding of how he operates and the real dynamics of power at play. The contrast between Ayanokoji's calm composure versus his opponent's aggressive, intimidation-based approach showed the wisdom in Koji's restraint compared to the self-defeating nature of Ryuen's all-force strategy. Dude was so blinded by his need to bully and overpower everyone that he failed to recognize the deeper levels Ayanokoji was operating on strategically. Ryuen's whole MO of using physical force and mind games to bully people into submission may work in the short term for creating fear, but it has zero sustainability or foresight into the larger implications, unlike Ayanokoji's multi-layered game plan. His failure to adapt or see past Koji's surface-level moves is what ultimately led to his downfall, like that quote about force collapsing under its own unguided weight when there's no vision behind it. The character who really leveled up this episode was Karuizawa. Her steadfast determination not to betray Ayanokoji, despite all the traumatic pressure and mind games Ryuen inflicted on her, showed major personal growth. Her resilience through that living hell, and then breaking free from the cycle of bullying with Koji's help, illustrated her journey towards true self-mastery and emotional strength. It perfectly embodied the theme of inner wisdom overcoming oppressive external forces. The real battle between Ayanokoji and Ryuen wasn't just physical, but a psychological game of one-upmanship testing their mastery over emotions and actions. Seeing Koji provoke Ryuen into losing his cool while staying ice-cold himself really brought that philosophical quote about self-command to life. It highlighted why having restraint and emotional intelligence is so key for out-strategizing your opposition in these high-level mind games over power and dominance. As Season 2 wrapped up, we really got to dive deep into the internal battles and self-reflections driving these complex characters. It all culminated with Ayanokoji pulling back the curtain and revealing just how elaborately he had been manipulating everything as the puppet master, using both Ryuen and Karuizawa as pawns in his bigger chess game. For Ryuen, getting outplayed so thoroughly by Koji's mind games forced him to face the harsh reality that his overly aggressive, forceful approach has glaring limitations. His whole identity was shaken. The way he contemplated just piecing out of the school, but then got manipulated into staying by Ayanokoji, perfectly captured his inner conflict and crisis of self after that brutal defeat. Karuizawa's arc this episode embodied the quote about confronting your inner demons head-on. Despite the living nightmare Ryuen put her through, her refusal to betray Ayanokoji showed just how far she's come from being a perpetual victim. Overcoming that horrific situation rather than buckling highlighted her emerging inner strength and resilience in facing her fears. For Ayanokoji himself, you could see the Nietzsche quote about your greatest enemy being within perfectly reflected. His ploys to keep using Ryuen as a pawn against Kushida, manipulating even Karuizawa's emotions, it underscored how his own cold, calculated nature that was beaten into him at the White Room remains his biggest battle. His self-awareness about how that messed-up upbringing stripped away his humanity and turned him into this master manipulator is both his greatest asset and biggest weakness. And with the season ending on that tease of an inevitable clash with Arisu down the road, it planted some tantalizing seeds for the next layer of Ayanokoji's internal war with himself. Her cryptic comments about knowing him from the past hint at their connection perhaps being tied to the White Room's shady origins. So it seems like further exploring Koji's psychological conditioning and his true origins will be key to understanding how to overcome his inner demons. The hype is real to see in Season 3 how our guy Ayanokoji handles the new challenges Arisu presents, and whether he can move past the dark legacy of his upbringing. With the layered character work and mind-bending strategizing, you know Classroom of the Elite is going to keep delivering more insane twists and turns. If you enjoyed this video essay, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you would like to see other characters being analyzed, you can drop a comment below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.